I am Slick Nick, the ultimate Sigma male. Now, I feel this is a very important discovery in my own life, a blind spot, and I want to share that with you because you're younger than me. I'm 43. You're younger. You need to hear this. Your father, your grandfather, your older brother, they didn't tell you this, so I'm going to tell you, and that's going to be a major advantage that you have. So here we go. I want to talk about validation. So one of the best TV shows that's ever been made is The Office, and I've seen every episode at least 3 or 4 times. I own every episode on DVD actually as well. And one of my favorite characters, not actually, my favorite character is Andy Bernard. He's hilarious. You're laughing at him, not with him though. You're laughing at him because he's so pathetic, because he's constantly wanting everybody to approve who he is. Even in one episode where Michael Scott is spreading rumors, he starts to convince Andy that he might be gay. And there's this very funny gif and a scene from the show where Andy says, "Michael, am I gay?" Because that's how unassured that character was of who he was, because he was so dependent on everybody else telling him who he was. So I think that's a really strong illustration. And we can also see that with Michael Scott. That character was also hilarious because he also needed constant validation of who he was. So here's what I'm gonna say. I recently wrote a song and I put it on this channel called People Pleaser, which I've never seen myself as, but now as I've written a book on Enneagram and I've been studying this, I understand that everybody is at least a little bit of a people pleaser. For me, it might be 5%, it might be 10%, but at least a little bit of me is a people pleaser. How do you identify a people pleaser? I would say, whether it's 5% of who you are or 100%, it means that you find your identity based on other people proving that your identity is what you think it is. So here's some common ones. Needing confirmation that you're a good worker or a hard worker. Needing to be convinced that you're successful, specifically maybe in wealth. Needing confirmation of your own wisdom, that you're a good problem solver, that you know how to help people through that. Needing confirmation of your physical beauty. Confirmation that you are special. Confirmation that you are a giver. Confirmation by receiving physical affection. So these forms of confirmation can come through words from other people or through action, but ultimately, and this is not a comprehensive list, this is just off the top of my head, but it's important to ask yourself the question, are you seeking validation from other people? And it's easy to say, well, I don't care what people think about me. But when you really start unpacking, like, is there one person, is there 3 people, are there 5 people that you can think of that have the ability to hurt your feelings or make you feel disrespected? And if you can find that list of people, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 5, however few people it is, well, there you go. Now you have discovered whose validation you're seeking. And then you can identify in what ways you're seeking validation from them. So for me, and I think I've mostly overcome this, but I think I've been, because I am such a good communicator, and I do have such a charismatic personality, I, on some level, expect the same from certain people that I'm close to, or that I guess that I respect. And this is what I've worked through, but it was that I was depending on them to assure me that I am smart, that I'm helpful, that I'm a good person, and all these things. And if I didn't hear that expressed, if I didn't get that praise, it would make me question myself. So now I'm at a point where I realize, but that's not how it actually works. If you're a confident person, you don't need that from other people at all. In fact, I think I wrote a quote here, didn't I? Let's see. No, I didn't write a quote about it. I thought I did. Oh well. But the whole concept is, I'll paraphrase the quote. It's that if you are depending on validation from outside of yourself, if you hunger for that, you will always be hungry. But if you know it comes from within and that you don't need validation from other people, then you won't be hungry. You won't even be motivated by trying to please or impress other people. You yourself can know that you are a hard worker, that you are wise, that you are attractive, that you're special, that you're a giver, all the things that people look for confirmation from. You don't have to ask, you don't have to wait on anybody to give that to you, because you know that you're doing everything in your power to be those things. And you know that perfectionism does not exist, so there is no perfect version of anything, but there is, I guess the closest thing to perfect is, have you improved who you are today compared to 6 months ago or last week or whatever? If you're constantly improving and you become aware of these things, then by default, you probably are going to be what those people need who you were formerly trying to get validation from. There's a personal satisfaction you can get when you realize, I'm no longer dependent on those people to validate me. And then that means I'm not needy. Because I feel that for me specifically, I recognize being masculine as being self-sufficient and not needing other people. Yes, you will need people in your life. Absolutely, no man is an island. You will need other people in your life. Yes. But the concept is, how independent and self-sufficient can I be so that when I do need someone, that's when I make it count. I'm not needing people to tell me I'm great all the time, because again, that's more of like a Michael Scott complex. So that is now what I've been able to sort out. It was a blind spot for me. That 5% or 10% people pleaser was still me trying to get validation from certain people that I was certain things. And it's so freeing realizing that. And I will even say that even me shaving my head recently had a lot to do with that realization. It symbolically showed I'm letting go of trying too hard, because I had put certain people on pedestals. And I'm done doing that. I mean, I can respect people, but as far as looking up to people, I think I'm at a point in my life where I no longer need to look up to people. I can look next to people and see them eye to eye and think they have certain information that I can learn and they can learn from me. But even then, one of the ways I needed to feel validated was I needed people to want my advice and direction. I wanted them to take my advice, because I often do know the better way to do things, because I live so strictly by my principles and not being being in control of the 7 deadly sins and having the codes that I live by. I often do know a better way of doing things in general. And it used to matter to me that people would listen to me and take my advice. And I'm over that now. Now I can walk around with my book of secrets to life. And if somebody wants to know, I will share with them. I mean, like, for example, compare me to pre-COVID, I weighed a lot more. I had a lot more body fat and I had a lot less muscle, and I didn't dress as nice. Well, now I know secrets about that. How do you actually cut fat? How do you build muscle? How do you know how to dress now? What are those subtle little things? You don't need to be wearing a suit and a tie. You can do subtle little things. What's the best way to do your hair, whatever. Like, I know so many things, but I'm not eager for people to accept that, to validate me. If they accept my advice, great. And that does make me feel good, but it also doesn't make me feel bad if they don't accept it. So I am a recovering man who has been dealing with validation. I was about to say I'm a recovering validationer. That makes no sense. But whatever the word is, I am very mindful of it, and I feel like I'm now recovered. I just have to continue practicing this to make sure that if anybody's validating me, it's me and it's not anybody else. That would make me a victim. That would make me dependent on somebody else for my own identity. And while it's important for me to depend on other people at times in my life, it's not good for me to depend on my identity in general. It's not good for my self-worth to be based on what other people show me in their mirror and say, yes, I validate you are smart, or you're wise, or you're successful, or you're these things. That is a broken system, and that would keep me weak. So now that I know that, I'm moving forward, I'm moving on, and I can now see, wow, I learned something. As somebody had asked in a comment recently, they said, Nick, you're so slick. Can you possibly get any slicker? If so, how? Well, here's what I'll tell you. I think this is a way that you are watching me in real time get slicker. I'm always finding out how I can improve. If you haven't watched my video on what it means to be an attractive male, I would definitely suggest that you watch that. But I'm mindful of those things. And for me, my personal growth right now is not depending on other people to validate me. I can validate myself. Thank you very much. Your comments belong right here.